when we think of how we grow our careers, and even when we think about career development within companies, I feel it's a quite transactional. Like it's a bit robotic in some ways.
People questions. It's been like so fun, because even people I've like literally worked with for the one person 20 years, and like there's just so much don't know. So it's so fun.
Well, you're gonna learn a lot about me
Yeah.
then.
Yes, that's awesome. I'm so excited. Okay, Lavinia, it is an absolute honor having you on. We met, I don't know, what's it, a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when you were like just starting out, and it was so nice chatting to you then, and we've kept in touch ever since. And so thank you for being here. So for those of you who don't know you, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor as well, and I have to say that I'm really excited about the conversation. I think, having this space to reflect on my past self, I think it's such a nice thing. You don't do that or I don't do that as much as I would like. But anyway, thank you so much for having me. For everyone who doesn't know who I am, so I'm an L&D person who was a bit frustrated by the learning opportunities that we had available. So I opened Offbeat, which is this learning space, this learning universe for L&D professionals. So we have all sorts of things, all sorts of products and learning experiences, all with the purpose of supporting L&Ds in growing in their careers and becoming more impactful in their organizations.
Oh, and I absolutely love it. You know, we speak the same love language here, so it's fantastic and such a fantastic space you've created.
Thank you.
Okay, now getting into, well, my personal favorite part is going all the way back in time to younger you. Tell us about your first work experiences, that first paycheck. Yeah, tell us all the stories.
Oh my God. So, there's a story there. So I come from a village close to Bucharest. So I did not live in the city. So working opportunities when I was a teenager were quite scarce. So the first opportunity that I ever had was being a promoter for some sort of company and like sharing flyers in a mall. So that's when I made my first well, one of the first money that I got from my own work. I was staying, on my 2 feet for 8 to 10 days in during the weekend. I hated it, my guts. But honestly, like looking back, I didn't know back then that there are wait like so many opportunities out there. Again, living in a village, my mother worked in our like city hall. My father worked with his hands, so it's not like I had this awareness about the corporate world that existed beyond my very, very small world.
Okay, interesting. So how long did you stick out the handing out flyers gig?
I think a month or so, like every weekend.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
was only for the money.
Yes. I can imagine you were not there for passion of handing out flyers. Oh man, yeah. Oh, that's did people avoid you, or did they come up to you like
I think I
was
kind
it
of avoided people if I'm to be honest.
that's
I
so
was
funny.
very shy as a teenager. I'm still like a bit of an introvert. And it definitely that job didn't play to my strengths. I would say now, like with the eyes that I have now. Yeah, they weren't, I don't think they avoided me necessarily, but it did feel kind of useless, whatever I was doing there. I cannot even remember the companies I was promoting, if I'm to be honest.
Oh man, that's brilliant. I did a gig. I also lasted like 5 weeks until they fired me. Doing charity in London, like so getting people to sign up for charity, but it's
Mhm.
like those people on the streets saying like, "Do you want to save the earth?" Do you want to help a homeless person today? So that was me, and apparently it was like the number one hated job, like a hated person in London. So people would like literally cross the road and avoid me. Like, do you want to save a tree today? So yes, that was also not for me. So yeah, also, yeah, 5 weeks and that was it. Okay. So from there, and how old were you about? You said you were in your teens.
16,
Like,
17, something like
okay,
that.
so just
Yeah.
about to leave school, sort of the
Yes.
last couple years.
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened next?
What happened next is that I got some filters. I was very unfiltered when it came to the job that I'm gonna do, but I was so lucky, and I think I say this whenever I have the opportunity. I'm so thankful to my English teacher from like high school, because she offered me the opportunity to join an exchange group, and we went to Latvia with a couple of other college, no, high school students actually. And it was a kind of like a leadership development program for a week where we explored all sorts of things, but one of the main themes of the program was doing what you love. And I think that was the first time when I started thinking that, first of all, I should be doing what I love. Nobody told me that before. And secondly, I started wondering what is it that I love doing. And I think when you're in high school, I'm not sure how it happens in other countries, but here in Romania, there are two categories of people. You have those that are very serious about the things that they want to do next, and those usually end up being architects, doctors, lawyers, teachers, accountants. I don't know. So, these very established jobs. And then you have the rest of us who don't have a clue about what they want to do next. And I was, most of my life, I would say, I was in that category. So with these new lenses, I went to university, and honestly, I kind of applied to university, it's kind of knowing that I'm not gonna do what my degree was about, but I also knew that it was an opportunity for me to explore and experiment other things. So I signed up to join an NGO, a student NGO, that completely changed my life, both in terms of the knowledge that I acquired doing all sorts of projects, but also in terms of the network that I gained, being exposed to enterprises, corporates, and VPs of marketing or whatever, and just mapping the landscape that I was about to play in. And from there, I think I experimented a lot.
Wow, that is absolutely powerful. So you were actually, yes, you say you were so lucky, and that is so true that at such a young age that theme came out, like do what you love, because even now I think it's something like 15 or 17% of people actually enjoy what they do.
Mhm.
And that's just so little. It's frightening. So that is, yeah, that I think we should be shouting that from the rooftops to all young people. So that is fantastic. Okay, so tell us a specific story about the NGO life. Like, is there someone specific that stood out, or a project that specifically stood out?
Oh my God, everything that we had to do ourselves, I would say, like even back then, I enjoyed doing things rather than hearing out trainers. I enjoyed that part as well because I was so young. So I was getting exposed to all of these theories and all of these people that I've never heard of. So that was brilliant as well. But I would say that what stood out were the projects where we just had to go there and do things. So I remember one specific instance. So in the NGO that I was a part of, you could become a project manager for a certain program. And these programs were meant to support students in developing specific skills for a specific discipline. Anyway, and as a project manager, I had to do fundraising. and I had never asked for money ever in my entire life, not even my parents, if I'm honest. And even back then, and still, I have a very unhealthy relationship with money. I think it, anyhow, it comes from our culture, but that's a separate discussion. But anyway, I had to go and raise funds, and we raised funds, and it was so interesting because I think what I learned back then is that I didn't just go bluntly asking for money, but rather I focused a lot on the value that we were providing, and the money. And in addition to the money, we got some beer as well. It was not alcoholic. We still had to learn, but I got some like beer and chocolate and all of these in-kind partnerships, which was freaking amazing. But again, I think what I learned was that sometimes focusing on the work and just doing the work that you do and doing it properly, other benefits will come. Of course, you in some cases you still need to ask for money, but I think a combination of the two and always having this foundation of doing good work will bring you lots of benefits.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So first, right? I love that so much. Okay, so tell me a bad experience, because I'm sure if you're going to people asking for money, not everyone is kind and giving you beer or money. So was there any time like, I don't know, like
I can't
I don't know, I
remember.
relate to this because of the charity thing and I'm like cringing inside. So tell me a story.
Well, honestly, I can't remember a bad story from that particular use case. I think we were also, you see, now that I reflect, another lesson, a powerful lesson that I learned is that that your network is going to help you tremendously. So it was quite easy for us to get the money because we had the network already established. So when we went to these companies, we never did cold calling. We actually went in through some, alumni of the project or of the NGO, and yeah, it definitely way easier than in other use cases I've come across in my life. But I do have like many bad stories from my career in general. If you're interested in one of those.
I definitely am. Let's move into one of those. So
Well,
NGO work, you got your degree and
I
just
didn't
so
get my
curious.
degree, actually. I didn't get my degree.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I am one of those dropouts. So I didn't get my
Nice.
degree after 1 year of being in college. I started working, and I just felt that I'm getting so much out of actually, doing the work, and I did not get anything, not knowledge or network or friendships even from university. So although it was a bit it wasn't a conscious decision after the first year, but I stopped going, and in my third year I said, okay, then let's be real. I'm dropping. you know I need to make this call. So yeah, I didn't get my degree, sorry.
Okay, okay, okay. Nice. I mean, so many dropouts are absolutely super, super successful. So, yeah, I think, and I do have degrees, but sometimes it can be super overrated. So, just between you and me. Okay, so now jump into your sort of, so that's your early experience. Now let's jump into like your middle career, good and bad stories. So yeah, start us off there, in there.
So I went, I think one theme of my early career was a lot of experimentation. So I did PR, I did marketing, and then with some luck, I ended up in the people space, in the HR space, doing actually marketing for internally for the company, so employer branding, internal communications, and so on. So that was my early career, and I think always knew that I want to end up in L&D, just because I had such a big passion for learning through my NGO experience. So I I ended up in learning very early in my career. I somehow decided I don't want to be a people manager. It just felt that it was not for me. I was a very good individual contributor. I had an idea of what came with being a people manager. And yeah, I just said no. But at one point, I was about to leave my company that I've been with for a couple of years. And my then manager said, "Hey, I have an idea for you. We're going to restructure the whole team, and you're going to become the people manager of this new team that it was called People Experience, but it was actually L&D, talent development, and so on." And although I knew that being a people manager was hard, I kind of liked the challenge. I said, "Okay, maybe let's see. I'm gonna learn something from this." And my gut feeling was right. It was the first 6 months were probably the worst 6 months of my career. It was extremely tough. I came into the being the people manager, like becoming the people manager of the team, where nobody expected it and nobody saw me as the next people manager of the team. And nobody thought that I had any skills to be the people manager. I was the very common use case of someone who's good technically being put in a people manager position. But I said, okay, I'm going to make this work. And one of the things that I did that I think helped me tremendously was going to therapy. This is another thing that people are not used to hearing necessarily, because maybe you go to coaching, not necessarily to therapy. But I did feel like the things that were holding me back in my role and in the relationships that I had with people around me were very deep. Like, we're not coaching related. Were more about my upbringing and so on. So I went to therapy, and it took me a while to get into a good flow of work with my team. And it took me lots of very uncomfortable conversations that I never thought that I would be brave enough for. But looking back, I think they were the best thing that I ever did. Just putting myself out there, being vulnerable, sharing very tough feedback with people. Those were the things that ended up, helping me a lot in the next few years in the job. So, but it was extremely tough.
Oh, yeah. That is, oh. And before you didn't even want to do it, so it's not
Yeah,
like you were developing yourself or
yeah.
putting yourself out there to take the role. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I'm sure you blindsided a few people, but yeah, so just tell me, you know, and that's great bringing up therapy, because
Mhm.
that is something that no one really touches on, or
Mhm.
like, oh, let's see where this is coming from,
Mhm.
because and you said it before, you didn't want to be a people manager, and maybe
Mhm.
like some of that was coming out, like maybe you would
Mhm.
have been a great people manager.
Mhm.
But there was some like doubt in yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, so just how did, okay, so and you said the 6 months were hard. Is that how long you were in the role, or did you, oh, six
No. I
months
was
just,
in the
yeah.
role for more than two years and a half. So
Okay, okay.
almost 3 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So then, yeah, just tell me how you, because so many of us listening will be like, oh, we train leadership, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, how did you transition and build the trust, and build
Mhm.
your credibility in the team?
Oh, so the first, let's say that the first 3 months were a struggle, with zero solutions. I would say it was purely them fighting me back, me fighting them back. There was no alignment. There was and somehow, it's interesting because I feel like I had to leave those moments to be able to transition into being more than I was back then, because I lacked all the skills. Let me be clear, I had nothing. um and I think a point came when I was like, I cannot do this any longer. Like, something needs to change, because I hate this. Like, I hate my job. I hate waking up and going to the office. We were going to the office back then. like seeing these people live, I could see it on their face that they hated me as well. So it was a big push for me to just do something different. And I am a big believer that if you want others to change around you, you need to change something in yourself as well. So that's how I said, okay, let me go back to therapy. It wasn't something new for me. I've done it before in other instances in my life. So that's when I went back, and I started understanding again what was keeping me back, why were those relationships not functioning for me, and I started those tough conversations, one-on-one conversations with every team member that I had, being very vulnerable myself, which is not, I have to admit, I'm thankful for that to my parents probably. It's not very hard for me to be vulnerable, but I can see it in other people managers around me. And I, just like I said, as an L&D, I've supported leadership development as well. I can see how hard it can be. But I feel like if I haven't done that, there were so many questions left unanswered, and there were so many unclear goals and intentions behind the behaviors that I was seeing in the team and the behaviors that I had. So just setting these one-on-ones, being very vulnerable myself. The big surprise that I had was that others started opening up to me as well, and crying my eyes out in these meetings together with my team. And then, because these relationships started becoming better, we had a healthy foundation to build a team as well, because they started trusting that whatever I was saying wasn't against them, although it was a very different way of doing things, but it wasn't against them, but it was actually for the good of the team, for the good of each individual, for the good of the organization as well. But I learned that I first had to earn that trust to be able to do any sort of change management, if you'd like.
Wow, you are like, my mind is going nuts. That is so good, like so good, because I think so many people avoid those difficult conversations, and I train people a lot now on communication and how to have these difficult conversations, and it's just something people avoid. But I feel like it's almost one of those things. If you go through the tunnel, then there is light at the end of the tunnel. I know that sounds like super lame, but like
No.
if you go through it and if you get through it, it really is like you get into another universe. Yeah, so well done to you, because that is so hard. I know I have had one genuinely difficult conversation in my life, where I led it. I was a subordinate and I had to go to like a manager 2 levels up, and it was so tough. I was shaking. He was a guy, so I didn't want to cry, so I was like breathing, all the like shaking and breathing, and then our relationship flourished after that.
Mhm.
He actually years later, when I was consulting, brought me in to
Mhm.
consult with him. So it's like, it's so uncomfortable though, and we
Mhm.
avoid it so much. So well done, honestly. Like, I respect to you, because that is so difficult. You could have left, you could have just, it's my way or the highway. There's so many different paths you could have
Mhm.
taken, and you took, to me, probably the hardest path in the moment, but
Mhm.
that got to the better result, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And can I add that, I just want to share that it's not like everything was perfect afterwards. Like, even for myself, it's been years, and I still suck at some things. Like, I'm a huge people pleaser, for example. And because I'm a huge people pleaser, being assertive is extremely tough for me. So it took me so much time to realize that some of the relationships that I had were just not working. And it wasn't just about me, it was a poor culture fit. And it took me so long, because I was always, let's give them another chance, let's give them another chance, always thinking about the personal side as well. Anyway, so it wasn't everything, it wasn't like everything was perfect afterwards, but things definitely improved, and I still had a lot of like battles to fight with myself and with everyone around me in some way. But I feel like the courage it takes, we sometimes share all sorts of frameworks on how to communicate or all sorts of theories, but the reality is that we need to just be brave. As weird as that sounds, we need to be brave because it's not just for our benefit, but it's for everyone's benefit,
Yes, yes, absolutely. We need to talk about the courage that it takes to step into those spaces. It's, yeah, it's tough. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That was, yeah, amazing. Thank you. All right. So now that job, what happened after that? So you said you were there for almost 3 years.
Yes, yes. So
What
I
was
had
the
a
next
role
step
for
for you?
almost 3 years, and then I started Offbeat, and
Okay.
I cried my eyes out when after putting so much effort in building what ended up a beautiful team, I decided to leave. It wasn't nice. I'm lucky enough. I say that I started this entrepreneurship journey not by running from something. I talk to so many people who want to do this, and there are all sorts of different reasons. And one of the most common ones is that I don't want this full-time job any longer, or I don't want a full-time job, or I'm running from a manager who's not okay, from a team who's not okay. And I am extremely lucky that I started in a place that came out like of passion for the problem, and yeah, just love for learning. It was very, very tough to leave my team, but I did so, and I started doing Offbeat full time.
Okay, so now we've got to go into Offbeat and how that was for you, because yes, I absolutely love that you started it with passion and truly as an outsider, as your ideal customer, I suppose.
Yep.
You're, I suppose I'm running like parallel with you.
Mhm.
I can see that. I can see it in your work. I can see it in every single post you do, every like event you host. It's just evident that you're not doing this because someone told you to, right? So tell me about the journey. I know it definitely hasn't been smooth sailing, and there's no entrepreneur that I've ever met that will say, "Oh, this was so easy. This is the best, easiest thing I've ever done." So yeah, tell us a little bit about the sort of entrepreneurial journey. Yeah, and any tips for people out there who are thinking about going solo, consulting. Yeah, I'd love your insight.
Oh, so many things. It's very interesting because when I started doing this full time, I thought that I'm gonna learn a lot of technical stuff, and I actually ended up learning more about myself than I learned technical stuff as well, but definitely I learned a lot about myself, and the mindsets that I had coming into this that were very unhealthy, and not only unhealthy but also unproductive. And again, I went back to therapy. I think therapy for me, it's a pattern. And I think if I were to look back, I would say that surrounding yourself with the right people is extremely, extremely important. Because I started doing Offbeat full time on my own, and I, I thought, because in the past I was a very good, a decent individual contributor, and I could do all things by myself. Then I had the team, and then I thought, oh, I can go back to being however I was before. But the reality is that I got used to some patterns working with my team that I completely missed when I was on my own. So it took me a while to realize that one of the things that I missed the most, and one of the reasons I ended up feeling extremely unhappy in this journey, was that I was alone. And with very little money in the bank, I told my co-founder, who was still working full time back then, I need you to come full time because I cannot do this any longer. So definitely, maybe taking a bit of time for reflection to spot of things that are holding you back, and very intentionally working on them. I think it's extremely important. The other thing that is extremely important, and quite counterintuitive, I would say, is taking care of your mental health. Because when my first year being full-time with Offbeat was working nonstop, 16 hours a day, weekends included, no break, nothing. And I ended up at the end of the year in burnout, not even knowing that I was in burnout and not understanding what's happening to me. So, although it feels like, oh my God, if I'm not there, the business is not basically running, the reality is that when you take time for yourself, you can come up with, being more creative, being more productive, more efficient, more focused, and so on. So the thing that I changed, and thankfully my co-founder is very supportive of this herself, is having a personal life, taking evenings off, seeing friends, seeing family, watching TV shows without feeling guilty. And I have to say, when you make a transition, especially when it's something that's so close to you, at first, or at least that's what happened to me, at first comes with a lot of guilt, maybe, or a lot of doubting, or and any of these things. But sticking to them, they kind of become part of you in time. So this would be the second advice, just taking care of your mental health, and focusing on the work. I have to say, I see so many entrepreneurs, freelancers struggling right from the get-go with sales and marketing, or very traditional marketing, I would say. When I think the one thing that I did best in this journey, and I'm very serious, I think I messed up in so many ways, but the one thing that I did well was first provide value. Because first providing value, I built my network, and then things grew organically. It's not like we're billionaires or something, very far from it, but at least it's not that hard. People know us. People, appreciate the newsletter, the work we're doing with our sessions and so on. So it's way easier. So yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. That's something else that I became aware of in time, because I think it's these are two things. Sorry, I have so many ideas. So first of all, it's okay to make mistakes. You need to be in this experimentation mindset a lot at the beginning, because the reality is that you don't know. Although you think you know, even being an insider, and even being your potential client, as you said, you don't fully know the reality of other people. So that's one, and you need to experiment. And the other thing, and this is probably the only thing that kept me going, is falling in love with the problem. Because if you fall in love with the solution, and I have to say, we made so many changes with Offbeat over the past 3 years, like so freaking many. But being in love with the problem and seeing that the problem is not solved yet is what can keep you going. So yeah, make mistakes and
Oh,
experiment and be in love with the problem.
I love all your ideas. I promise you, this podcast could go on for 7 hours. I'll be fine with that, but if only. Okay, so there's just so much I want to unpack. So you first said your mindset had to change. Like you didn't say this, I'm paraphrasing, but like an obstacle in your own way, right? And you needed to get over that. So what was something that was like holding you back that you did work on and got over the last 3 years?
I'd wish to say that I got over it. Maybe it
Well,
improved,
getting over
but
it. Yeah, I know. It's a
I'm
work in progress, isn't it? I
it's a
know.
work in progress.
And we'll
Yeah,
never be perfect. That's,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because
Uh,
you said you still make mistakes. I'm like, yeah, all of us make at least one mistake every single day.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, one thing that I've been working at is the relationship that I had with money, that I have with money. I think growing up in Romania, that's where I'm from. I think there's a cultural thing about asking for money. Especially when I was young, just for a bit of context, I was born right after communism fell in Romania, and so many people got rich through all sorts of schemes. So there was a lot of lack of trust regarding how people made money. And especially in my small community, everybody was looking at those who had money with a bit of, did they actually work for the money they had, or was it just, because they did some sort of scheme? And it took me so long to realize that that's what I think about people who have money, that it's not through work and tears and all of that they made their money, but through some sort of scheme. And if I were to ask for money, and if I had money, I was that type of person as well. So yeah, and this is just one part of this idea of the relationship that I have with money. Still working on it. I still feel very uncomfortable asking for money, no matter how. And it quickly became apparent to me that public praise, it's a very short-term incentive, actually, to keep going. It's amazing. It's beautiful that people find value in the work that we do, but it does not lead me to value my work more and to consequently maybe ask for money for some part of my work. So yeah, still work in progress. I still have my like small things on in my head.
Yes, yes, and yeah, that's good context. Yeah, so I bet you think, okay, so if I make money, then people are going to not trust me.
Yeah,
I'm a scam
yeah.
artist, like all of the things. But meanwhile, you're giving so much value that you should be, yeah, absolutely charging and stepping into your value. Yeah, so that is a hard thing to get over. Yeah, and yeah, I don't have that, but just as a well, I don't have that background, but even as an entrepreneur, you're like, what is my value?
Hmm.
So there's that side of it as well. It's like, okay, so is this worth anything?
Hmm.
Yeah, so that is a tough one. Okay, so that's the one thing you said. Um, and then the other thing you were talking about a lot, and we're going into the questions, but I really just asking you the questions based on your conversation. So the networking side of things, and this goes all the way back to your NGO experience where you really, found the value of the network.
Hmm.
So just talk to us about building a network, a real life,
Hmm.
not like paying for followers sort of
Hmm.
network. Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one for me.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'd love your take on it.
This is another thing that I kind of suck at, but you know, um, what I tried doing, let's say there are two sides of this as I see it now. First of all is how many people you're connected with, and then there's the quality of the relationships that you have. And I tend to be more on the less people but more quality side of things. But being in the position that I am now, I ended up missing maybe some connections that would have been very nurturing, either because I help someone or because someone brings something to me. So as my network grew in size, I feel like the quality um, did not grow as much, or I had to very intentionally nurture some relationships to keep them going, and to keep, yeah, I guess the beauty of social learning going. So yeah, that's one thing that I can think of. And then it was always just putting myself out there, with and it's very interesting because as you put yourself out there, or at least that's how it was for me, it my confidence didn't grow. It kind of stayed the same, but what changed was that I'm more comfortable with not being right. I feel like coming, I truly hate this idea of you're an expert on something, or you're a thought leader on something, because I feel that as I post something on LinkedIn or as I write the newsletter, this is a learning journey for myself as well. These are my reflections, but I'm always open to be proven wrong, to be getting extra from other people. And I think this is one of the mindsets that have helped me along the way, in just seeing networking not just as a functional way of doing business, let's say, but also as a learning opportunity for myself. And that the last thing that I want to add is that authenticity is extremely important for me. Like, we're, first of all, in whatever relationships we form, we're human beings. Like, let's admit that. And all the relationships that I've had for years now, ever since I started Offbeat, if they were built with authenticity, and we're in this with our whole, persons here, those were the ones that lasted longer.
Oh, yeah. Such a nice way to look at it. Yeah, because and networking has been, I suppose, a challenge for me because of moving, right? Like I built my network in a different country,
Mhm.
which was a really good network, but also like not even done through social media, right? Just done through
Mhm.
genuine connections of working with the people, of knowing them, all of that good stuff.
Mhm.
And then coming here and just building basically my network online because I moved here in 2020. So I wasn't going to events, I wasn't meeting people. Yeah, so this is the year I'm like going out into the real world. I can't wait.
But do you see a
Can't wait
difference?
to
That's so
meet
interesting
people.
that you're mentioning this. Do you see a difference between building your network live in like your previous life and country, and building your network now through social media?
Yeah, oh, 100%. So the people who I actually connect with is when I have those quick 30-minute chats. So, like you and I, we did
Mhm.
that, years
Mhm.
ago. And every single person that I've grown a relationship with,
Mhm.
I've always had that 30-minute chat. So
Mhm.
it's that personal. So even though it's over a screen, it's still
Mhm.
like real life, seeing the person's face. But like, yeah, I don't think I've built one relationship in the DMs
Mm.
like ever, you know. So yeah,
Yep.
there's not, yeah, not a single one that I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
of. Yeah, yeah. So that is, yeah, such a good point. Okay, so now out of all this stuff, like all your experience, it's just so rich and you've shared so much and it's just been so awesome. So, what is one thing that we need to be talking about more, like the
Mhm.
one top thing for people and not necessarily entrepreneurs? So, like anyone building a career they love, like all the
Mhm.
way back to your high school, theme here.
Mhm.
What must people be doing more of? And, maybe it's not one thing, maybe it's the top three things or whatever just comes to mind.
Oh, this is hard. What's
It
one
is.
thing? I think, again, going back to maybe authenticity a bit, when we think of how we grow our careers, and even when we think about career development within companies, I feel it's a quite transactional. Like it's a bit robotic in some ways. Like, you have these career frameworks, and you have this level and this level and this level, and it feels like, again, we're ChatGPT and we're doing something and we're on to the next level, when the reality, I feel it's a bit more complex than that, because people with all the skills they build inside or outside their work environment or the corporate culture. And I don't think we talk enough about that, and I don't think we use that enough in the corporate world, which is such a shame. And I remember a story. of this coach, lacrosse coach I interviewed in our own podcast. And she was sharing how she's been a lacrosse coach for years. So she's built this amazing leadership skill set that nobody was paying attention to at work, which is again, such a shame. Instead of, doing what I did and moving into a leadership role with zero skills, we could look at other people who maybe have built these skills in other places of their life. And it's okay, the context is changing, but there's still something there. And yeah, maybe this would be it, like looking at our careers more humanly, realizing that there are so many things that might change. Damn pandemic came, like, come on, it changed so many people's lives. Like, we need to be a bit more flexible in how we think about our careers, have this willingness to experiment and just trust the process. So I guess there are two things that I just mentioned. I cannot stop, sorry. So one of them is being a bit more human when it comes to career development, both for ourselves and within companies. And the other one is just being willing to putting ourselves out there and experiment and trusting the process.
Oh, yeah, you really make me think because, yes, we bring so many skills. So, one of my, like, I always say this, I'll die on so many hills, but one is like you take your skills everywhere. So, like, and that's the thing, like, no one can take your skills away from you. So, if you build your skills in this career and you get laid off, you're still taking your skills with you.
Yep.
That is like one thing that no one can take away. But yes, like then you also get boxed where it's like, okay, so you have these skills, but you don't have like this
Hmm.
experience. Like, and even in job descriptions, it's like, this industry would be preferable. And, I've worked across, I think now I'm on 13 different industries, and I like can guarantee you my skills go across everything. Like I've worked mining all the way to professional services.
Wow.
Like yeah, skills are so transferable. So yes, I
Mhm.
absolutely love that. And then the human side, yeah, I think you said, our lives have really changed in these last 5 years, I guess. Like the world has really changed. Do you see like, or I mean, and there's no crystal ball, but what's the changes coming for us next, do you think, in with this AI world? I mean, I don't want to I try and avoid AI because it's just so over spoken about. But yeah, just as the pandemic shifted things, what do you think is not going to keep us sane?
Oh my God. Other humans.
The
Like,
human, yeah.
again, I speak to L&Ds a lot. I speak with them, but them, however you want to say it. And I think that there couldn't be a better time for us to intentionally focus on human to human relationships, because the reality is, and this is, I'm cautiously optimistic about AI, by the way, like this is my position, but we need to be very real about the fact that when, as humans, when we find a way to do things faster, more efficient, and so on, we're gonna choose that way. So if ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever tool is out there is gonna help me learn some things or find some answers, and it's just a click away, I'm gonna tend to rely on that instead of doing the harder part of talking to other humans.
Yeah.
So we need to be intentional about creating those spaces for humans. And it's not just for learning, but it's for her mental health. It's for, I'm talking very huge words now, but it's like for the future of humanity, And we can see this with like teenagers, and how, or people who are teenagers, Gen Z who are teenagers, when the pandemic came, and how much it affected their lives when they were, closed in their houses in a time where they were supposed to be forming these relationships. We see how social media is affecting maybe again teenagers and young professionals, the young people. So I I think AI can do a lot of good, but I think we humans need to still focus on other humans.
Oh, and I don't even think you are like overemphasizing that it is for humanity.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Like I am on that page so much, and relationships, and I say it all the time, like that's why I'm employed. I literally am helping people communicate right now. That is like the core problem I see across all of my clients, like without exception. It's like we need to have difficult conversations. We're not performing. And it just all boils down to like, you're not having conversations. Like
Mhm.
it's, and yeah. Oh, yeah, we can go down the whole rabbit hole here. So let's not do that. All right, let's wrap up with the final question. If you can go back in time to younger you, what would you thank yourself for doing then that really set you up for where you are today?
I think this is another kind of pattern or theme that I've spoken about today, and it's experimentation. Just um, being, and I don't usually speak to myself like that, but being brave enough to not follow maybe a traditional path. Um, I'm really thankful for my younger self for being yeah, brave to do that.
Yeah, to experience a lot of different things. You
Yeah.
definitely did.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Okay,
bye.
bye. My husband travels a lot. He's going away now again. So he's just saying
You
goodbye.
want to say goodbye?
Yeah,
Go, 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 go,
okay,
go,
let me go
go,
give
go,
him a quick
Candice,
hug.
go, go.
Okay, Daryl. I'm going to give you a hug. Where are you? I'm getting very used to him being gone, so I'm like, bye, just see you Friday. Uh, okay, so yes, that is, yeah, and I can see that, like even as you were talking right in the beginning of the recording, I was like, oh, I see like how she got to where she is, so that's awesome. All right, now let's do the awesome part. Tell people what you're doing, what's coming up in 2025 for you, how they can jump into your world, all of the things.
Oh my God. So many things that I'm excited about, but I will just mention three of them. So we're going to keep on building Offbeat again as this space where L&D professionals can come in and experiment maybe with non-traditional ways of learning, non-traditional ways of doing things, listen to case studies of how other people are doing things, getting exposure to some really, really awesome people. So that's what I'm doing, and the three things that are very exciting for me. First of all, is still the newsletter. 5 years in, and I can still say that the newsletter is the best way to keep in touch with me and the thoughts that I I have. It's free, so everybody can just subscribe. Then we're gonna have a huge focus talking about AI and putting a bit of intentional work into community building. That's what we're gonna do this year. So our fellowship, it's a paid fellowship for L&D professionals, where they can again just come in and meet other people, and we have all sorts of awesome things happening there. And then the third thing is something that we're doing for the first time ever, which is our first live conference. It's happening in London. So it's hopefully a good hub for people to travel from wherever they are in the world. But I'm damn excited about doing that for the first time.
Oh, that is awesome. When is that happening? So it's happening in London. When?
Yes,
Do you have a date?
London, 9th and 10th of June. And we have a
Okay.
really, really pretty space. It's a bar, so it's very non-traditional. It's not a
Ooh,
hotel
yes.
lobby. It's not something like that. It's gonna be informal. It's gonna be super fun. So 9th and 10th of June.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay, we will absolutely, yeah. shout that from the rooftops. That is going to be awesome, awesome, awesome. If my passport comes in time, because I've just submitted it, and it takes 6 months. So I'm like, oh, please, because I do have a visa to get to the UK, but like, obviously I need the passport. So, oh, that'd be amazing. Awesome. I love that it's in a bar. Like, let's think outside of a hotel lobby. Yes. All right, awesome. And we will have all the links in the description, of course, to get hold of you. And yeah, any final closing thoughts or anything you want to say?
Well, again, thank you for having me. And I guess a theme that I'm trying to embrace this year is being kind to myself and being kind to others. So I encourage others to do so as well.
Yeah, and I love that you put yourself first there because, yes, it starts with you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. This has been just a wonderful hour. I absolutely loved it. I love getting to know you more. Yeah, and I'm sure we will, as always, be in touch with each other.
Thank you. Thank you so much.